I know that right now I can't really see you all, but I'm still gonna ask you a question. Who here is creative? How many of you said yes? Why? I've been told I'm a creative person since I was a little kid. It all started with my artistic promise. First, I would get so fixated on grabbing a white piece of paper, drawing on it, and then I would create what my mother would be so proud of, that she would think that was the latest masterpiece ever. She would hang it around the house, and everybody could see it. So that piqued my family's interest, and since early age, I was enrolled in art classes. So let me take you back to my childhood years, when I was around 6 years old. I got into a couple of art classes back in different galleries in my hometown. I remember that for the first lessons, we would always be asked to draw outdoor pictures or landscapes. And there's this one particular experience I've never forgotten. And it's that one day, my dad decided to take my artistic talents for a walk. He took me out to a local beach, and we got there. I had all my equipment with me. I sat down on the sand, I stared at the beach, and I tried to paint. It was my first time ever doing something like that in public. And curiously enough, people passed by, and they would acknowledge all of my artistic talent, all of this creative potential. Everybody would have said that I had been born an artist. But I must confess something. Most of the time, all that I didn't really know what I was doing. I just did it because it was fun and engaging. But people started calling me an artist for it. They labeled me as a creative person. I just agreed. While I was in school, I didn't have the opportunity to explore this set of creative skills. And I also had an interest in sciences. So while I was a curious kid, this notion that art and science were not compatible, that art and science did not mix, everybody had it. And while in parent meetings, my teachers would address my parents on how I would ask too many questions, on how I would talk too much, on how I was too curious, I was never actually praised for being creative for it. So it makes us wonder, why then does art only own creativity? What happens to all of those who don't share a passion to create art, but to create knowledge? What happens to those who share both? Must they choose one and leave the other aside? That is why creativity is such a heavy word. We use it daily, too constantly, too often, but most of the time, mindlessly. We don't actually sit down and think, why are we actually telling someone is creative and not others? Why is it that we call someone creative? Why do we limit it to just a selected few? Creativity is defined as the invention or the product of something that is both useful and novel. But the term itself is intangible. It is abstract. And that comes the tricky part. Because of that, we often limit it to what it is, an artistic or scientific process. And that mindset can be a little bit troublesome, because the problem lies with reducing it to a sole definition. We can agree then that it has many forms and expressions, but I am not here to talk to you today about what creativity is or is not, because it is no longer a matter of redefining the term, but acknowledging what our relationship with our own creativity is all about. If we can agree that being creative is a need that we all have, that it is a potential that we carry, that it is also a power that we can be responsible about, and that it is a challenge we can overcome. We are one step closer and actually knowing why we're not being creative enough and what to do about it. First, I'm going to cite an excellent mind who all of you probably know, Steve Jobs. He once said very simply that creativity is just connecting things. I agree. I would add, as a reminder, that creativity is also connecting parts of ourselves together and sharing it. I am a psychology student who is also a film student. Both of my academic choices have always been ground for debate, whether they are art or sciences. But I like to believe that one can be very creative with the options in hand. I also like to believe that I can connect both. That is why recently I had the opportunity to participate in a film competition where we were supposed to write, film, and edit an entire short film for just a weekend. The real challenge was that one could not have any creative material done beforehand. So everything had to be produced in the designated time. As you can imagine, this was insane. Most of the people there were actually individuals who were strangers and friends, met for the first time. I gathered this group of individuals who shared a passion for the project, and we took the challenge. And I must say that it was beautiful seeing it all connect. While the film was being done, we actually had not just each contribution came for the artistic sense of the film in terms of the filmmaking process, but also in very different matters. For example, problem solving. All the problems you can imagine that actually popped out during the weekend creating a film, well, it happened. Then also coming up with new ideas. You didn't have to be a film expert to give out ideas on how the script would keep developing. We only had like 48 hours to film it. So it was really intense to even sorting out what were our better options to eat. So each one of them had their own contribution. Each one of them, most of them actually, it was their first time ever exposing themselves to such activity. But the product was great. In the end, we managed to make the challenge. We did participate in the competition. We made it on time. And the best part of it was that even though most of them didn't come from artistic backgrounds, because let me tell you, all of them, or practically all of them, we were also almost 20 people. Like I said, strangers, some friends, some even met there for the first time. They coexisted in this space, not just as co-workers, but as fully capable, creative individuals. And they came from social sciences, humanities, business administration, biology, to even engineering. They all gathered there and made this wonderful product just from a wild ride of pure creation. So, tracing back to the first question on who is creative, maybe that is not what we must ask, but rather, who can be? Who can be creative? Because avoiding being the responsible ones for hindering our own creativity, that is what truly matters. If we know that this is a potential we all carry, we must be responsible for it and take care of it. Being creative is not just limiting ourselves to what is out there, because most of it comes from what is in us. So my message here today is not just telling you what creativity is all about, but what rather we can do with our own potential, with what we carry. Don't let anybody tell you you can't be creative in what you do. Because you are a creation yourself, made of beautiful disasters and perfectly imperfections. So be creative on yourself. Whatever you choose to become, an educator, an artist, a leader, a creator, become. Connect the things you love, your passions, your interests. Don't limit yourself to just one choice. And never forget that you are the responsible one for not letting that creative, wild spark go out. Because imagine, if you gave yourself a chance to discover your own unique expression of creativity. So get involved with this amazing potential you all have. Get exposed. Take the risks. Accept the challenges. Say yes. You will discover that creativity is the language that not just art and sciences share, but actually all the human disciplines of knowledge. And be aware. Be aware of your potential for being creative. Because in the end, creativity is yourself. It's your ideas, your questions. Don't be afraid to ask, to be curious, to experiment, to go out there and think outside the box. Go look for the opportunities that lead you to discover what is your own unique expression of creativity. If life has given me one lesson, it's this: that creativity is not just a special skill, ability, or talent, but rather a state of being. It is not what you do, but who you are. All that is left is for you to accept the challenge and dare to be. Thank you.